Welcome to Co-op Mode, round 81. This is the official video game podcast of Seeker Friends Unite. I'm one of your hosts, Todd Daxter, and from beautiful Sauvage, Minnesota, joined by the also beautiful Mark Carabin, the Canardian. How you doing, bud?
I'm flattered and great. Am I as beautiful as Sauvage, Minnesota, or is it a close tie? What's the deal? Where's your ranking between me and city?
Well, it's kind of gray, melty, snowy right now, so I'd say you're outpacing the beauty of Sauvage right now.
Me on the inside. Inside beauty, outside beauty. It's all good. Anyway, I'm great. How are you?
I'm fantastic. And the fun part is, I think this might be the longest stretch of hosts we've had. Geographically, I don't know. You guys are almost a continent apart. And we are joined by Mr. Sean Capri, one of the founders of Yumi and Capri, a returning guest to the Co-op Couch. Sean, you are from the west coast of Canada. Mark is from Atlantis, essentially, on the Atlantic coast. I don't know how many miles that is, but, that's crazy. I don't think we've had hosts that far apart.
I think Mark is actually closer to Portugal than to me, which is amazing. I think that there might be some accuracy to it. Thanks for having me on, you guys. I'm glad to be here to witness such a beautiful moment where Todd can really only say that Mark is more beautiful than a city because of how terrible the shape the city is in right now and the weather. Because otherwise it may be a tough call, but since things are so gray and terrible, yeah, Mark takes it.
Come back in the summer when it's nice and warm.
Yeah, they'll have a conversation about
lights
it.
Are all it's a.
I appreciate that, and I am noticing that Mark's beard and his hair, it's like the changing colors. They got the really red, you got some brown on top. Mark, come on, what's going on?
I don't know.
Yeah, what's with your pigments, Mark?
I didn't think I changed anything. Did it? My hair's messed up. I kind of fell asleep. I was trying to get Finn to sleep, and I laid down with him, and I fell asleep for like a half hour.
Yeah.
So that explains my hair being a little messy. But for color-wise, I think you're going to have to speak to a geneticist, and they can explain that to you. Maybe next time we'll get someone on the show that can explain.
I'm here to say you look great, Mark.
You do,
yeah,
and I'm a little jealous. I'm a former ginger, and I've gone gray, so all my red hair and freckles gone.
The freckles too?
Oh yeah, I look like little Howdy Doody or Richie Cunningham, whatever you want to call me, Opie Cunningham, whatever they called me. Yeah.
All right.
I'll share some younger pictures of Todd, and you'll be jealous by my blazing beauty. But enough about our hygienic views of each other, because we're all handsome men here. I think it's time to talk about some really important choices, and that comes down to buy, rent, return. I present you, gentlemen, 3 choices of forgotten franchises from our core consoles: Siphon Filter, Kid Icarus, Mech Assault. So, Sean, you're our guest. You have to buy one, rent one, and return one, like the days of Blockbuster. What do you choose?
I love everything mechs. I'm going to buy Mech Assault. I will rent Kid Icarus and return the other. I think that I don't know. It's kind of pretty straightforward for me, but also like Bobby loved Kid Icarus, so that's a bit of an homage to that, but I wasn't quite as in love. But give me some mech games and give me a joystick. Give me a Microsoft Sidewinder with that sucker, and I will be happy forever and ever, man. But that's kind of where I'm at with it, I think.
Mark, what's your choice?
Not terrible. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't have a lot of love for any of these franchises, so it doesn't really matter. I've played probably the most of Kid Icarus. I don't think I've really played Mech Assault, although to Sean's point, give me a mech and
man.
That's cool. If I can drive around in a mech, that sounds awesome. I just missed that game, I guess. And Siphon Filter, I think my brother had that, and I may have played a little bit, but zero holding power for me right now, as far as memories go. So I might mix it up just to be.
That's what I remember. Is a weird run, like a kind of like a kick your butt, kick you the heel to the butt cheek kind of run.
Very odd.
It's
like
all
really
turning,
fun.
like you would be moving considerably backwards, but you'd still be running, shooting backwards. I loved it.
That's what I remember out of that animation. Probably should be more things, more memorable pieces to Siphon Filter, but yeah, that run animation was it for me.
I think just to be different from Sean, I'm gonna buy Kid Icarus, rent Mechasalt, and return Siphon Filter. Because Siphon Filter's just getting no love, but I want it to be a little bit different at least. What about you, Todd?
I will be the opposite. So I would buy Siphon Filter because the thing that all these games are, I never got very far in any of them. Like, and I think that's the hallmark of a lot of these games. I didn't play much of them, but Siphon Filter, I think I've actually gave it a little bit more attention. I would have really loved it. This is one of the hallmark, franchises for PlayStation, the PlayStation 1 era, which really hasn't been revisited. But it was kind of like, if it had been developed and carried forward, this could have been a cool franchise. But I mean, it was kind of held back by the PS1, and I think 989 Studios was behind this, and they were also making sports games. So very weird. But it was a fun, like, spy before Splinter Cell came out. But it was not exactly what's the word I'm looking for? It was not at all subtle. It was not subtle. You like go and wreck hell, and it's like, oh yeah. It was before Sam Fisher matured, I think. Maybe it was Sam Fisher was in this. He's like, I need to get better at what I'm doing, and I'll be in Splinter Cell. But I think it had promise. Mechasalt,
stealth game with no stealth. That's actually
pretty much
to appeal to me. I gotta play this.
Yeah, it was just wrecking hell. It was great. Kid Icarus. No, I'll go Mechasalt. Mechasalt, to your point, Max, it was more arcadey. It wasn't like the other games in the mech series where it was more tactical. And I'm like, you didn't feel really powerful in those games. You felt like, oh, I have to worry about my gas and my acceleration.
Ambient temperature.
Exactly. Like, I'm overheating. Calm down. So not so much fun. But Mechasalt, I think you did a really good job with that. And that was one of the first games on Xbox Live. I got my Xbox Live to play that game live, and I ended up calling up Xbox support to cancel my subscription on the phone live. It was so weird, but it was still a fun game. So definitely a good rental. Kid Icarus, man, I suck at that game. I've never gotten past the first level, ever. And then that 3DS game came with the little stand, and then it was ridiculously hard to play on the 3DS. Like, I mean, your hands were supposed to do things they weren't supposed to do, but the promise of the game was huge. So I'm like,
it was better with the new 3DS with the thumb nubbin.
Sure.
It did get a little bit more playable then.
My son loved that game. I mean, he had nimble hands that didn't have to worry about arthritis or anything. He talked about how much he loved that game, and the writing was just goofy and fun. So I'm hoping that game gets ported to the Switch, because it seems like an easy port because of all the controls. But there we go. So that's it, gentlemen. So console holders, bring these games back. That's all we ask. So we now get into what we've been playing. So Sean, what have you been playing? I listened to you just last before the Nintendo Direct with the Nintendo Drive, and you've been playing Pokemon Arceus, and then you played another game that was a Star Fox clone, apparently that was a thumbs down.
Thumbs down, Star Horizon. I almost feel bad for giving it extra coverage to say don't steer clear. But I have adopted this terrible sickness, just like with podcasting, where I can't stop myself from starting another show. I think I learned that from Bobby. I can't stop myself from going onto the eShop into the deals, even though the eShop is a terrible experience as a customer and consumer, and it loads like Netscape in 1998. It's just an absolutely there's no cart, there's no nothing.
Oh yeah.
But still, I find myself kind of compelled by some of these games that are 90% off and $2.30 Canadian, and a game that looked a little bit like Star Fox. I'm like, yeah, I want to go pew pew some lasers in space. That sounds great. How bad could it be? And I tried it for maybe a level and kind of deleted it pretty quickly. So that's the thumbs down for the week. But I feel like, Todd, maybe you'll be proud of me. I played one of the what has become one of my favorite games of all time. Actually, originally released on the PlayStation 4 in 2018. I played it on the personal computer. God of War, boy simulator. Boy, oh boy, man, that game is, and it's not anything new. It's not like I'm breaking any opinions here, but this is one of my favorite games I've played ever. And I was reflecting on it. Sometimes for me, when I sit down and I play a game, I think it's really hard for us to render like a verdict, an objective kind of opinion about a game, because so much of it is like, where are you at in life, and like, what did you play last, and how much time do you have available? Like, all these things kind of have to line up for you to really kind of wrap your head around a game. And everything happens for a reason is a bumper sticker I've got on my butt, because I really think that that's a thing. Like, everything happens for a reason. I didn't get around to finishing God of War in 2018, and it was better played for me in 2022. My son Lincoln he'll be 5 in April, which is wild. Which means that he was about 1 and a bit when God of War originally came out, and my relationship and the way I interact with him is like way closer now than it was back then to what Kratos and Atreus are at there. So like, they actually have conversations, they talk to each other. There's some reasoning. I can see him starting to learn things, and like, that was way more impactful to me as a dad. And a lot of us have commented on that kind of side of things. So I could go on probably for about an hour about God of War, but like, really, really special. And I just, once it got into me, once I got into it, I just wanted to play more, and there's more for me to do. My biggest complaint about it, that I will say, because I did play it on PC, and PlayStation's got to figure this out. Like, just get trophies going, man. Like, make me care. Like, keep me in that ecosystem. And one step beyond that would be like cross save. If I'm playing on my PC, like, I want to go pick up where I left off on my PlayStation, because I have both, and I can do those things in Xbox land. And I think that stuff kind of matters. But with those taken outside, like, I literally took a 25-foot cord HDMI cable from my computer to my TV out there in the next room, so that at least I could just have like a couch experience with it. But God of War, man, it's so great. And I'm so glad it gets like this extra boost right before, or at some point, sometime before Ragnarok. And allows more people to play it. I think it's great.
It's interesting, Sean. I played that when my son was 13, so it was the perfect age, because
oh wow,
Atreus and Logan are like, we're the same age. The mouthiness, they get full of themselves. Then at times, then they get very clingy, and teenage years are, you gentlemen are on an interesting cusp, because it's coming eventually. You got time. Enjoy what you have now, because my son is going to be driving very shortly by himself. So that mix of just accepting your child as a mature person that is going to go beyond you and live beyond you. And you hope you are a good influence on them to make the right choices, because there are so many temptations. And as we saw Atreus, understanding where he could go and hoping those things in the back of his head reminds him of being the best person he can be. And that's all you can hope with as a dad. So it was my game of the year. I loved it. I mean, beyond just what they did technically, it was just I'm a huge story fan, and that's part of my experience with games and the way they bring them forward. And people say, well, games don't tell good stories. I don't think that's true. I just think sometimes they're more successful than others, and I think they're learning. And I think we're going to see games that just blow people away, and they'll have the best story ever told them through gaming and gameplay and interaction. So I think that's a thing with God of War that I think is the precipice for bringing us to the next level. And hopefully this gen, we're just in the cusp of what can they deliver with, like Hellblade 2 and a lot of these experiences that'll just be fantastic, that you don't have to worry about. Is it going to be good? It's how good can it be? So that's really going to be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it seems just really free to explore its own space too, which it's every time you have a groundbreaking game like that's like, holy, like you really take notice. Kind of what happens is exactly what you're alluding to, which is other games are going to do that, but it will never feel as fresh. Like, I think with Pokemon too, there's a lot of comparisons to Breath of the Wild, but like Breath of the Wild did that 5 years ago, and there's going to be versions of Breath of the Wild that other kind of developers and studios are going to be picking up and draw inspiration from. But it's like, Breath of the Wild did it first. And I feel like I haven't played a game like God of War since really The Last of Us. And I feel like there was a bunch of games after The Last of Us that tried to do that thing and didn't quite hit it, in my opinion. And then God of War comes around and like it does the whole like reinventing Kratos and refreshing the whole, like, there's so many things that are special about it. The technical aspects, the performances, the writing, the world that you get to explore, the expansion beyond like just the linear nature to kind of open world, like all of it. It nailed so many elements of video games that I don't know. Anytime I see anything else try to do that, I'm like, God of War just did that. You know, it's gonna feel a little copycatish. So even for a sequel, I'm curious what the reception is going to be on that. And yeah, I want everything to I want game creators to challenge themselves to be original in the way that God of War really did. And it's just really special, I think, in that way.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. The fact that it was on PC opened doors to people that, I mean, that may have never had a PlayStation, and that's perfectly fine not to own that system. It's just sad that people aren't experiencing all the great games, and hopefully we will see PlayStation's catalog go more places, so it's not an excuse anymore, well, I don't have that console, because I hate to see people ignore some of the best games in the world because I just didn't have the box.
Yeah. Well, you know, we heard for years and years all the PlayStation fans don't need to buy an Xbox because they already had a gaming PC. So, you know, you can just play that too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Solved.
I'm gonna get anything else, Sean, that you've been playing that you enjoyed?
A little bit of Pokemon. I'm still kind of in the first area, and I'm just kind of really enthralled with the world itself and the mechanics. And I always seem to name the characters in these anime games my kids. So I've got a little Ellie running around, and in Monster Hunter Stories, it was Lincoln, this cute little anime character named Lincoln, which was very, very sweet. But I'm really enjoying it, man. Like I've basically dedicated the last year to just try to like get into and kind of understand Pokemon, because I've been, you know, spending years on We the Gamercast and meeting people who grew up on Pokemon. Like, I've got no connection to this thing. Like, I don't know what that is. I don't know what a Litleo is. Like, I guess he's like, I've come to learn he's very, very cute. And so it's been fun to get to know it, because it's just, to me, I just like learning things, and I've kind of dedicated a little bit of energy to that. And then of course, I've got 2 kids who are like perfect age for Pokemon. So this is why you have kids. I think it's like within the top 5 reasons to have children is to, you know, get back into things you missed. So yeah, Pokemon Go was kind of the gateway drug. It was the on-ramp into Pokemon, and I played Diamond in the fall, and now this one, it's like, I don't know. I don't have like the jaded 20 years of Pokemon gaming that a lot of people do. And to be honest with you, I don't know if I would have made it if I was there the entire time. I don't know if I could have done decades of the same thing over and over again, because I already feel the power of how refreshing this is. I like running around and seeing an actual like tree with some materials on it, or a rock or something that I can go grab. And it makes sense that I grab a Pokemon from my pocket, or a Pokeball, I throw it at the thing, and I get the materials. Like, I like that a lot. And so, yeah, and it feels like it's maybe an actual console game, you know, rather than a handheld game that has been ported. It seems like for the first time now we get to play a game that was, you know, that is so huge, and that there are so many of these creatures around that we can go do all these things with, to match that size of world and endeavor with the power of an actual console. I think it's interesting, because people don't typically think of the Switch as this enabling beast of technology, but in the world where you come from, if you're in handheld, then yeah, the Switch is absolutely that. And there could be kind of like an if we ran Nintendo moment of what else lived only on handhelds that could really benefit from the power of the Switch. I just love that notion. It's so backwards.
Yeah, that's been my experience with Pokemon Legends, and I'll just jump in there because I am the person that's been playing every major iteration for the last 20 years, starting with, you know, Red and Blue, and jumping into this one, it does feel so different, and it does do a lot of stuff that I think, Sean, I think you nailed it. I think it feels like a console first game, where even Sword and Shield felt like such an iteration. Like, yes, they looked prettier and they were more open and broader, and there were different areas and stuff, but it was still the same kind of formula. And yes, in this one, I do miss some of the population. There aren't as many trainers. There's not as many battles with people hiding around every corner, and it doesn't feel as populated. But that's also kind of the point of, you're in this early kind of feudal Japan setting of like, there's villages here and there, and they're just popping up, and like, you know, like, you get a sense of talking to some of the characters, like, there's been some fights, there's been some more. These people moved here to try to get away from some of the BS that's going on, and they're kind of setting up shop here, and they're trying to kind of get along now with everyone. And So you get a sense that this is kind of a crazy kind of world, and they're just starting to develop Pokeball technology and all this kind of stuff. So you're seeing where it all starts, and I'm really, really, really enjoying it. To your point, where it makes sense that you can just see something, and if you can bing a Bidoof in the back of the head with a Pokeball, then you can catch that thing without having to battle it. And other times, like a Pokemon will see you first and be like, "Not today, MFer," and it'd be like, like they'll charge at you, and you have to try to react and hit them in the face with a Pokeball or throw at one of your other Pokemon to defend you. And if not, like that thing's gonna take you out. Like you're gonna get hit in the face with a hyper beam. Like I got poisoned the other day trying to run away from something. I was just like, what are you doing? I wasn't even trying to catch you. I wasn't bugging you. You were just there. And I was like running through the field and you just shot me with your poison. And that is very rude. And it's such a, like, but it makes sense. Like if you're out and you piss off a crow or something, or some kind of like, badger sees you, it's going to be like,
poop on you.
My territory. Like, come on. And, and other animals are just like, whatever, do your thing, man, do your thing. So it's very much real world animals with superpowers. Like you can kind of imagine them reacting in this way. So,
is there another game that has done that ever? It reminds me of like Detective Pikachu, at the beginning, and he's kind of in the field and they're going to go try and sneak up on that Cubone. And like, it doesn't really work out for him. That's awesome. No. Like that's kind of what this is. And that kind of gives me another sense of where they could go with this. This is ancient times, but they could go like, what if it's like right in the middle of Tokyo, Japan? I think that would be so cool.
Yeah. And that's what I was just going to say is I'd love to see this going back to the mainline Pokemon setting. Like, can they go back? And we've heard this with Breath of the Wild. Can you go back to the pre-Breath of the Wild formula? Yes, people are saying they want dungeons and they want this and they want that, but like going back and playing Ocarina or Twilight Princess or anything else, you start to feel like, oh man, yeah, this like they didn't really. There was like pre-Breath of the Wild Zelda, and then like Breath of the Wild, and like anything after that, you're kind of like you're expecting more.
Yeah,
you're expecting something to have changed in the DNA of the game, like at the base level of this, and they can't really step it back.
In Nintendo games, I think you always just want to feel the creativity that is born out of the limitations, right? You don't want to go back to the old games that were because they were fun back then. They were fun back then because that's exactly what Nintendo was doing back then, which was they were limited by technology and they created a workaround that happened to be kind of an interesting bit of a gameplay hook. And I think that's where they will always be, and they will always be kind of forced to come up with interesting solutions, which when they then give themselves a little bit more power to play with, then it's like, okay, now we've got something on our hands here. Now we've got this gigantic open world with Breath of the Wild. But with that said, like I think about they now have a similar situation with I would have gone back to like 2D Zelda. So like that's probably where you can kind of go back and forth. And I think that's probably where Pokemon can kind of go back and forth here as well. You can have these bigger open world, more advanced kind of experiences that come out every few years, but there's still, lots more to remake. And there's probably more traditional style Pokemon games that they can do, or MOBAs, or God knows what else.
Yeah, for sure. But I'd love to see Pokemon Shield, like the next iteration of that kind of world, more populated, traditional style Pokemon, but like with some of the even like quality of life, living world stuff. Like I can't imagine them not taking some of the stuff, whether it's collecting materials or just the way that you interact with the world and Pokemon in the world. Like I can't imagine them going back to a Shield Sword type game without some of these improvements. So it's to me, it's like it's a fun offshot, but it's also redefining what I'm going to expect from the next generation of Pokemon. It's really impressive.
Well, and I think that's good for us as grown adults who can, read and we've played all sorts of games. What I'm curious about is the role that Pokemon plays in introducing like almost like it's like baby's first RPG. And like, is this as friendly to brand new players? And I mean like brand new players as the old style is. And I don't know if I'm equipped to even answer that. It does seem a little bit more complex,
Oh, it
but I'm not
definitely
sure.
is.
Right? Like,
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And I think, but I think that's okay for a series like Pokemon, because I think there are remakes, but even those, like Pokemon's always been very text heavy if you want to
right.
really understand what's going on. And even the rock paper scissors mechanic of this is strong against this and this, like it's not a great first game, I think, for anyone. Like that's Mario, Kirby, Yoshi, that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Right.
So I think that's kind of what they attempted to do with the Let's Go series, because that can literally be like baby's first Pokemon,
Yeah.
of like you're using one Joy-Con or a ball, and you have one little joystick, and then you shake the thing to throw a ball, and that's as much as you need to know. Like, throw voice acting in that, and you don't even have to read. Like, you could literally give that to a 4-year-old and be like, here, go throw something at a Pikachu and try not to break my TV. Like, please use a wrist strap, and you're good. Like, so I think, I think Pokemon can have those different sects. And I think because Pokemon themselves are so cute, people look at it and say, like, oh, this is going to be a cute game. But that's where you have Pokemon Go, the Let's Go series, even the remakes of the older games. But again, like, you start to get into very text heavy things. And holy crap, this game is text heavy. Like, especially early on.
Yeah.
If I was in a different mindset and didn't want to play this game so bad, I probably would have put it down for a bit. And I'm guessing that's that. Todd, you're laughing, and that's exactly how it hit you, isn't it?
Yeah, I this was going to be my first Pokemon game, and then I decided that I didn't like any of it in regards to the actual presentation. I thought the presentation felt like it was dated from 20 years ago. Now this is the biggest franchise in the world, and they put so little money and presentation into it. And I'm like, I when I was just joining the Air Force, I watched the Pokemon cartoon anime every day for some reason, or whenever it was on. They've been talking in Pokemon since the series of this game. So Pokemon talking, the Pikachu, Pika, Pika, Pika. The fact that they're not doing the game just feels like, because they don't want to. It's too expensive and takes too much effort. And to me, that it just feels like, guys, get up to speed. I was just watching the Direct today. Advance Wars now has voice acting. I just think it's a cop-out because people say, well, that's the way it's always been. But all video games started with no voice acting. Zork had no voice acting. Mario didn't talk when he first started because there was no voice chip. So I just feel like the Pokemon fans they're the most nostalgic people in the world. They're held back because of what they started playing as kids, but kids will play whatever you give them. My son and he's 16 now. He was always looking for something that challenged him, not for something that babied him. So I think if you underestimating your kids and saying they can only handle this because of that, kids will adapt, and they'll adapt to it if they're interested in it. It's like those kids that learn languages or something like that, they adapt. So, but yeah, so I decided that after a while, I'm like, I was bored to tears. I'm like, this just feels like a game. It's so set in the way it's been. It's scared to move forward in certain ways. In other ways, I was watching my son play it, and that's where the enjoyment came for me. I saw what he was doing. He enjoyed the grind, but I'm like, I don't want to do that for 30 hours because that to me seems too repetitive, too much of the same. You're going around, you're exploring, like Breath of the Wild, to your point. It feels like Breath of the Wild. And I was first thinking, like, does Nintendo allow other studios and their own developer studios to use their own engines? Right. Because why wouldn't they just use the Breath of the Wild engine? Because that seems to perform so much better than this. It's not like Breath of the Wild is not a crowded area or something like that. So I just thought of that. I'm like, too, well, they have some, and that's where I'm struggling too, because they have all the money in the world and they could have done whatever they wanted to. They didn't have to release the game right now. They just had a Pokemon game launch 3 months ago. They could have taken the time, but I just struggle with this franchise. And it's like, why did you have to do that? Put the time and effort and care to make this perform better, or hold it back. Wait until the next Switch came back. It's so weird.
Because as much as I am enjoying it, there are things that, like, even talking to my brother, he asked if I picked it up. I was like, of course I did. Like, it's a Nintendo Pokemon game. Like, come on. And he said, like, I'm thinking about it, but I'm kind of on the fence. I have some stuff in my backlog he wants to get to first. And he said, like, do you recommend me jumping in? I was like, well, one, it's not going to go on sale, so pick it up when you want to pick it up, because it's a Pokemon game and it's always going to be the same price. But I said, it's also like, it's fugly. Like there are times when you're coming up on a Pokemon and just when it pops in, like the frames are like 2 frames per second. Like you see, there was one that it was flying and the wings were like literally like this. And it was not smooth. And I'm running up on it. And as I got closer, the animation started to get better, but it was just kind of like, that's a weird level of unpolishedness for, like you said, that one of the biggest
And
franchises
it's
in the
Nintendo.
world.
They're known for their polish. And it's like, and they make more money than God.
Yeah.
They're the most profitable part of Nintendo in the world. And it's like, rather than pocket it, invest in that studio. Take some resources. Get a good engine, these things, or share accordingly with your great developers. It just seems an odd approach to a series that is that big. It'd be like if Disney said, we're going to just go on the cheap with our special effects because people will buy it anyways, or people will watch. And it's like, that's
definitely part of the problem there.
Yeah, it's just a weird thing. But I totally get it. But watching my son go back, that he really enjoys it. And he's like, this is the step we need forward. The past Pokemon games felt like that was Pokemon 1. This feels like finally Pokemon 2, where we were actually growing and building upon and things like that, versus it's a remake again, but we're doing things and moving incrementally. So I liked what he's doing. He's told me all about it, and I'm enjoying it through him. And that's a great way to experiencing games that you normally wouldn't play. It was the same way we did Slay the Spire. My son loves those type of games. I was like his co-pilot, and I let him play, and I would give him my 2 cents, and he would either take it or not. But we enjoyed that experience together. So rather than me get frustrated, like, it's not for me, but I see what my son sees, and I'm enjoying him playing it, and he tells me how his journey, and I love that. So it's a complimentary experience where I don't have to waste my time and energy with it, but I can get enough out of it that I enjoy it, and I like what he's doing. So it's a weird thing, though, but I think it's interesting, everybody's approach. Sean, with you and with your kids that are younger, and the appropriate game for them, if they want to have read the text, that's great. I do think that not having voice acting is a cardinal sin of Nintendo, and I really think they need to get over that like barrier to say why, and just enjoy it. And to your point, they can turn off the voice acting and still get all the text. It's modern technology. I watch my TV shows with subtitles, and I can read, and I can watch. I'm just old, and I like to see what they said. But it's just a weird experience.
The most apologist thing that I can do is actually defend the no voice acting on this. I'm going to pull out my Nintendo fanboy card and the dad card all at the same time to say, if there is voice acting, the voice acting will stay on, and nobody on God's green earth is turning that off. This notion that, if you want your kids to read, just turn off the voice acting, not going to happen.
Yeah, no.
But you can do both.
And that would also be,
yeah.
Well, that's true. But, my apologist stance here is that I'm glad that there is a game with so much reading, with so much math and so much strategy and all these things that, I could feel pretty good about throwing that in front of my kid and he can play it for a couple hours. And because like I've had the benefit, like I just mentioned, like I've talked to dozens, if not hundreds of people who grew up playing Pokemon, and now his name is like Dr. Garrett Bland, for God's sakes, or whoever it is. Like I've talked to some of these kids who grew up with Pokemon who just like learned how to train their brain. Like this was, instead of reading a novel, they read Pokemon. And I think like I don't think it's quite as egregious in this case, because I don't think that you should look at every game as if it's made for every single person. If this game is made for kids, which I think it is, then I say keep the voice acting out of it, honestly.
But I don't know if it was made for kids. If I read the dialogue, it's not speaking to kids. It's kind of the way it's texted. It just feels like it's made for everybody, but the script is a little bit stilted, kind of like the Pokemon show.
Sure.
Like,
This is where like, you get into semantics a little bit. Where is it leaning? Where is it like heavily leaning kids? But you should have a little bit of like little nuggets for somebody who isn't a child. But I think that part is okay. But I also think about the polish and the presentation. I feel like that's kind of the piece that's a little bit weird. Why do that? And I'm trying to wrap my head around the choices that have to be made where you end up with something like that. And ultimately you think about the resources where it's like you kind of seem like you're limitless in what you can put into this. But what you end up with is, I don't know, like you still end up with something special with a property that people care about. So the choices have gone into that result rather than the result being like every single frame, or the draw distance being all the way over there. It's like there's still effort being put into a story and a world that's being generated, and the proper placement of where these Pokemon go and how they look, like all those things. So I don't know. It's yeah, could it be everything for everybody because it's the biggest thing in the world? Sure, but like I think it's also the biggest thing in the world because it knew what it was from day one and continues to kind of know what it is. And I think that focus and that discipline is kind of commendable. Honestly, you see a lot of games try to be everything to everybody and they fall flat on their face. Like it seems like they're chasing, and there's a weird stubborn confidence to Pokemon and Nintendo. And like I said, that is my my /end rant or /end fanboy card that I'll play for this.
Just imagine if Microsoft has said, we don't care what you think about the Brute and how he looks. We're launching it in 3 months.
No, they just about did. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly, right? So it's one of those things, too. It's like, okay, you can do that, but I think Nintendo fans are more forgiving than others.
Who's that for? Well, and it's
absolutely.
And where is it leaning? It's the people who are going to notice those kind of those things. They screenshot Craig the Brute, for God's sakes. Like, kids don't even know how to do that.
No.
So,
but I would say the Pokemon audience has grown up now, and I would say it's largely adult. The number of people who own Switches and things are adults, and adults are playing this game. So it's one of those things. It's like growing up with the franchise, and it's for kids and it's for adults, but you don't have to cap it just because kids are going to play it. I think we said kids games just don't have to be bad. They can be great, and the kids can enjoy them too. So I just hate when they could have taken the time and made it better. When they just had a Pokemon. So I just don't want to give them a pass because the Nintendo kids are going to buy it. I just think they should strive to make the best game possible. And there was no need to get it out now because you see what's on their radar, what games they've got coming. So that's another thing too. It's not like they've got a sparse schedule coming out. So it's a very weird trick. So I will stop because my son likes the game. He'll tell me, Dad, shut up and move on. So
Sean, you said like the people that played Pokemon are grow up to be doctors. Do you remember that study from 2019? I want to say they showed that like people who played Pokemon when they became adults had like a specific region in our brain dedicated to like processing Pokemon.
The Kanto region, they called it, I think.
But like they actually like found that there's a specific area in the visual cortex
I have no
devoted to like processing and identifying Pokemon.
Yep.
And I definitely have that. Like
it's got every wild like memorization kind of trick in the book, like the whole like what beats what, the rock paper scissors thing that continues to get expanded. This looks like a dog, and then it's like the name of it kind of reflects that as well. Like all those little secret tricks that you learn in school, like count to 7, and this is the number that you'll have associated with blah blah blah. Like it's all association, and you practice that constantly. You practice like even just team building and strategy building. You have to figure it out on your own in a way that is fun and engaging and inviting. And there have been many other franchises and properties that have tried this. There's countless other Pokemon lookalikes across the world. This is the one that nailed it. And it's choices that they've made. Yeah, they might have a choice where like results in things that some of us don't really like, but the positives are so strong. I just don't think it's that you can just have everything that you like about, or that the world likes about Pokemon, and then just go also add this over here. I honestly, I don't know why, but I just don't think it works like that.
Yeah, no, and I definitely I agree with that. Like it's back to the Halo point. Like if I know they delayed Halo for a good reason, and I don't think that reason was specifically to make Craig the Brute prettier.
Agreed.
And I think if Halo was just as good, the multiplayer was just as good, everything was just as good as it is, but Craig the Brute looked like crap. I think if they launched that game and that was like the main thing, like I really don't think it would have made any difference. You would have had people taking screenshots and being like, look how stupid this thing looks, but it would have been like overshadowed by 6 million people saying like, yeah, but the game's freaking awesome and it's fun to play.
But I think that the single player that got delayed told me that the game was not in good shape. And that's where I devastated, because they could have launched the campaign and said everything else to launch. I think they realized that what they wanted to do was not ready for prime time. And someone had to finally say, it's not going to work because your game is just going to look empty. We don't know how to do co-op, and then co-op will be delayed 2 years and people have been upset. So I think it did take a harsh look to say, guys, if they're upset with this, just imagine when they play the game and it's not up to par. We've got to do it right. So it just becomes a check. So Nintendo's never cared about what anyone says about what they show, because they just don't care.
That's exactly my point. Is like Nintendo's just, they can see it, and they can. Nintendo's that one company that's just like, yeah, we see the feedback, but we don't care because the game's fun and 10 million people are going to buy it, and it's going to break records in its first week, and we're good with that. And
that's the arrogance that I think maybe is tipping Todd off a little bit, and I get triggered by that as well. I can't stand it, and when you can smell it, it's hard to avoid it and to ignore it. When you get like you'll buy it anyways. Like, come on, I hate it. I was loud and argumentative about Animal Crossing, and really and I get it. I'm not never trying to like dissuade anybody, or everything that Todd said, like every syllable is correct, is accurate to, like I said, every single syllable of it. But it's just a matter of like how much you kind of decided if it's going to impact you or not.
Exactly.
And it is a pass. It kind of like, it either looks like, feels like, smells like, maybe is a pass, and maybe it is. But that is definitely something we do on a day-to-day basis with everything. We go, well, I guess this part of the shortcomings don't bother me as much as maybe somebody else, so I'll dive in. Animal Crossing, I think, is egregious on that front. You can only have one island. Are you nuts? Like, no, you don't have 3 save. I've had 3 save files since like the original Legend of Zelda. Like, what the heck is going on here? So
that's why we don't have 2 Switches in our household, Sean. I was like, I'll let my son play Animal Crossing. I'm not buying another damn system, and it's $260 to even start another Animal Crossing game. So that's
the thing. I'll get that will bend me out of shape 100% and 100 times more than no voice acting, even, because at least at the very least, like, if there's a benefit to my kids, there's no benefit to my kids for like having one island. There's nothing. You can't Nintendo spin that to me at all.
It's like having to have a second Xbox to play Destiny 2 for 2 accounts.
Can you imagine?
It's silly. It's dumb. And I tried it. Our friend Sean Nias, I try to walk him through Nintendo because he's a big Xbox fan and things like that. And he's trying to figure out for his kids, what can I do? I'm like, just buy physical carts. If you try to share digital, you'll be screwed. You'll be upset. Just buy carts and share. Yep. If your kids lose them, then it's on your kids, not Nintendo.
Yeah, make them
3
eat
strikes
the
in
next
the route,
ones, and they still taste gross. And,
I've not tasted them yet, Mark. I'm not doing that.
Really?
Yeah.
You never did the taste test?
No, I haven't.
Oh,
do they taste better over time or worse? I haven't gone back after 5 years. Did like age like a fine wine?
5 years since I licked Legend of Zelda.
Did they have an expiration date? Like, could you get poisoned? Like that bad taste just actually kills you eventually?
I'll go lick a cartridge and find out.
That's George Costanza's fiance.
Oh no!
I'm not going to lick all of my cartridges, Sean. Okay. Just one.
There's a limit to Mark's insanity. Is like, I'll do one that I got from my launch. The Breath of the Wild Kart.
Maybe still, if I'm still alive.
It finally tastes good after all these years. Oh boy, Mark. Any other games?
No, just that one.
Okay. So I've been on a laundry list of just trying games out of my comfort zone. So I did Pokemon, then I retired quickly, gave it to my son. I tried Tales of Arise because of Mr. Sean Capri recommended it. So it was on my Christmas list. Got it on PlayStation 5. I'm like, I've got a good gap. I just finished Horizon Zero Dawn. After a gap, I played some other games. So I'm like, I'm going to try this. It's going to be my game. Because Sean's like, this is the game. If you are into JRPGs or you're concerned about them, this game might be the gateway drug for you. I played Crimson Nexus, and I always get that game wrong. Is it Scarlet Nexus?
Scarlet Nexus. It's a different red.
So it's one of those. So I played that game, and I liked the combat, but the story just was not enough to draw me through. Kind of got annoyed with the characters, and the combat just got a little bit repetitive. So I put that one on pause, and I said, okay, I'm going to try Tales of Arise, because I just want to give this a try. And I don't want to make an assumption on a game series or a franchise like a JRPG, and I want to give this one a try. So I did. The combat was interesting. I thought it was a more of a action RPG. You get members of your party. The story is essentially you are a planet that's been enslaved by a group, and you're a man in an iron mask. That's based on a what is it, Dumas, his book by the Three Musketeers.
Yeah,
Dumas
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, exactly. And you're basically
That's
find out
I went to.
exactly. It's based on that story in outer space and with JRPG antics. That's where we're going. You are a character where you feel no pain, but you can get like burned to death, but you're okay. Then you find a woman who's escaping, who is a member of the royal ruling class who's enslaving everyone, who basically hurts anyone who touches her. So that's part of the thing. So basically, you're a perfect pair. I can get destroyed by you and not feel any pain, and I can give pain. So it's an interesting story mechanic. I mean, in regards to the dynamic of it. So I was in for the ride.
Hey, hang on a second. Hang on.
Okay.
That premise is awesome. I'm sorry, dude.
Sure.
Like you throw, there's a trope in there, of course, as the main character, you don't remember anything. Of course you got amnesia. That is, that's the tale as old as
JRPG
time.
step one. Yes.
The stakes are so high here. This generation after generation, hundreds of years of enslavement, and you're thrown against this woman who is of that enslaving race, these people who you hate, and you're forced to partner up, and you're forced to learn that maybe we aren't so different in the end, and wow, we've got some really extraordinary situations. As a premise, I thought this was great. So I was hooked from the start. So I could tell by you kind of like, okay, so here's a couple of like elements of how this thing shapes up. And it's like, okay, this isn't going to go so well, because I appreciated like all of it. And they're even like, what do you like? You're a bunch of slaves and you're breaking rocks. Like, life sucks for these people. You know what I mean? Like, it's not looking so good, but maybe there's some hope, and you've got some training, and there's this old man who believes in you, basically Rocky's coach, going like, all right, man in the iron mask, you could do this. If you just believe in yourself and you pick your time, you pick your right time to throw your punches. And then you go off and you rescue this damsel in distress, and you're off on your adventure. That's a good start to me.
I'm intrigued.
In premise, yes. In execution, Sean,
Jesus.
I struggled with the game because it was a mixed bag of presentation. Sometimes it was CGI anime. Sometimes it was anime cutscenes. Sometimes it was you're talking a little bit, but the people that you're talking to are going like this, and you're reading text.
We're gonna break this down. We're gonna break this out. This is like my favorite thing I've done in a long time. The anime, the cartoon, the hand drawn stuff. That's when you know shit is about to go down. That is when something big is happening. So you take notice. You're like, oh snap! Like they're really going for it this time. And then you get back into the everything else. And then the other thing that you should maybe try to do is throw on Japanese voiceover and do some subtitles. No.
I am an old school fan of anime. My son is a huge fan of anime. He makes me watch anime with the subtitles with Japanese dialogue. I hate Japanese dialogue because it's typically melodramatic, overacted. I'm like, no one talks like that in real life, and it drives me absolutely batty. I prefer, and this is actually talking real.
We never had a chance.
My wife has a visual. My wife has macular degeneration, so the fact that she needs to have voice acting to me is always an excuse for people that don't understand that some people can't read subtitles. So when you don't have that, guess what? You shouldn't be like, it's trash except for this. So that's a special place in my heart that I always feel like people just don't understand. There's blind people that they can't watch that. And a lot of people, if I'm too busy reading the subtitles, I'm not paying attention to what they're experiencing on their face, the actual part of acting you emote. So to me, it's like, I get it, but for me, that's not the way I absorb. I have subtitles if I miss something from a dialogue standpoint, but for me, it's just a standpoint that I just don't agree with. And I also, like I said, it was so disconnected in the way they presented, and it was sometimes you had voice acting, sometimes you didn't, and sometimes like in the dialogue I read in the script, I'm like, this is like C-tier scripting. I'm like, this is not good writing. So I just struggled. And like, if the story wasn't enough, and then I actually experienced like the mapping where you needed to go. And I'm like, it's not showing me where the main part is. And I have to go back to this. And I'm like, I don't think this game is as good in regards of execution as other modern games. I think it felt like it was a game from the PS3 era. And because this game, a series, the Tales game, I know it's been struggling with just trying to get up to speed. It still feels like it's a couple generations behind in execution. Like if you compare this like to Mass Effect, it like doesn't even hold a candle in the execution, the relationships, and the dialogue and the way it's presented. So I think
just compare it to the greatest Western RPG that's like almost ever been made.
But I could even bring out more examples that aren't the greatest. I could bring out others, and I just feel like even like some modern games. But I felt like this, but I just felt like this is just not up to the level of like.
Yeah, compared to The Legend of Zelda, this thing is ass, man.
No, compared to the Breath of the Wild, I will give it a it had a better story than Breath of the Wild.
Son from Game Pass, and comparing that to Super Mario Odyssey, you can really.
It was
see
better than Super Mario Sunshine Story. I will give you that example. But no,
I think even the way that we kind of like approach this game, I think just speaks to like what do you look for in it, right? And so, and it's exactly what I was talking to before, like the things that I can kind of go, you know, what systems are there or aren't there that maybe make it a poor experience for somebody else. Like I kind of go like, whatever, I'll just go like search for this side quest. I mark that as my active quest, and I'm going to go to the marker on the map, and that's going to be what I do. And I'm going to beat up some bad guys along the way and get some XP and level up. And that's a great, good enough experience for me, even in the way of, and especially if you keep with it, then this is the classic RPG comment, just stick with it for the first 15 hours and it gets great. I have a hard time telling other people to spend 15 hours because it's a lot of time. Like and we're all busy. It's very difficult to do that. But my experience was that I did stick with it. And what I found was that every time I went from one world to the next area was more interesting than the last area. And nothing is what it seems. This game and games like it present itself in a way that you think you know everything. And it's so amazing because the characters come across, especially at first, that they're super one-dimensional, and you think you know what they're going to be going through this entire time. And it actually becomes almost like a cliche in and of itself that they don't do that they all have a really interesting arc as they go through. And if you thought that this guy rule in this area was bad, wait till you see the next person, and they've got a special ability, and the situation that is impacting the citizens of the next area is even more dire or more crazy, but not necessarily just because it's more extreme and it's hotter or, you know, more explosions. It's different. There's a different scenario in each area. So yeah, gameplay is what it is, but I was like captivated by the setting and the stakes and the like completely uphill battle. This is where you could maybe compare it to Mass Effect, which is, it's the end of the world. Like this is like, it's all or nothing. And like, it's basically a suicide mission. It's almost not, you're almost never going to get out of this thing alive. I was in for the ride for that. But yeah, you kind of have to accept a few other tropey things and repetitive battles and all those kind of things. It kind of just,
I think the one thing I would say, Wyvern Strike, I heard that like 25 times, like I cannot hear that one more time. So yeah, I this is for certain people. I think if this is your first JRPG, I think if you're not hooked by the first 3 hours, you probably are not going to be in for the ride, because I don't think the storytelling changes. It just probably builds more to the story. But so if you don't like the fact that you're reading a lot of dialogue, but then it's mixed, because that was my problem. It just felt like it was a mixed bag of how they chose to tell their story. And I just feel like disconnected a little bit. So,
well, for me too, like and this was me having to read the subtitles, and maybe in some cases, whether you have it on Japanese or on English.
I did both. So I was actually reading what they were saying plus the subtitles. I'm like,
right.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
For me, and I have an issue, and I don't know if you guys do this as well, but like when a lot of times, like I'll just read, or like when something is presenting itself as a cinematic or something, I'll just look at my phone and think I'm listening and think I'm paying attention. Then I look up and I realize I've missed the entire thing. But because I forced myself to read it because it was being spoken in Japanese, like I was locked in. I was not looking at my phone no matter what was happening. So I kind of created a couple scenarios for myself that kept me engaged, even though, yeah, if you're in a different situation, maybe you're looking at your phone or you're waiting to like go get a sandwich, or I don't know what people do in between things. So it was one of my favorite games of the last year. So I'm sorry you didn't like it, but I was
disappointed because I'm like, well, maybe this will be the one that gets me. But I'm like, I think I found with Japanese games, I love Capcom. It's probably one of my favorite developers. They're a Japanese studio. And they just have a different approach than a lot of other Japanese developers. I think they're more engaged with Western storytelling in a lot of ways, the way they present, versus others. I feel like they are hardcore Japanese, and it's like you've got to really like Japanese culture and the way they tell their storytelling. And I feel like that's Bandai Namco in this instance.
Yeah.
The way they're doing
Would you say
it.
would you say like Monster Hunter? Like when you say Capcom, like what's
that's I think it's one of the exceptions. Monster Hunter is a series I don't like, but I would think of like at points like a Devil May Cry, which is just weird as hell. Cool elements, but the storytelling is just like so B tier. It's like they think they know what Americans doing, but it's just like that the gameplay gets me through. But like then like they do other games, I'm like, oh, I just love it. Like they do. Capcom is making Resident Evil, which is just like such a. They're trying to do Western storytelling in that series. And they also did that with like some other series. So it's just a weird mix of things. It's like, okay, I'm trying though. That's why I'm like, I'm going to go out of my comfort zone and try things. But I'm not going to put 25 hours to know that I don't like it. I'm going to like, do your game developers, you got to win me versus me having to put all into you. So yeah, check it out.
There's nothing quite like really giving it your all. Like I really want to try this and it still misses. Like I have countless examples of that, and it's not
absolutely.
It's not good.
Yeah. So then lastly, just really quick, pivot that Ghost of Tsushima Iki Island. This is a Western studio doing a very Japanese type game, and wow. I love the main game, and I'm playing the DLC portion, the director's cut, and I'm all in. I'm like, this is what I want. Fantastic storytelling that respects the Japanese culture, all these things, and I love the gameplay and all these elements. So good. So it's just like know what you like sometimes. Just trust yourself and try things as well. And I will give one shout out. Try Dreamscaper. Came out on Xbox Game Pass. It is a roguelike with a cool aesthetic, a cool concept of in your dreams, you go to this dream state and you can explore this world, get stronger and do different things. I don't like roguelikes, but I like what they were doing. And I think if you like roguelikes, this game could really be something special. So check out Dreamscaper.
Sweet.
All right. Well, we got one news story very quickly because we talked about Activision Bungie last week, Activision Blizzard last episode. Now Bungie has been bought by Sony. The big picture is this is a completely different type of acquisition because essentially Bungie is going to be an independent part. They're not actually under PlayStation. They're owned by Sony, and they are their own publisher. They're doing everything they want. And I would say the key takeaway of this acquisition is because Sony is not looking about the box and where you're going. They want to build live service games. And who knows how to do that? Sony doesn't. Bungie does. I mean, come on. What was the last one we had? Home, PlayStation Home, and what else?
Yeah.
SOCOM, MAG.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. They don't know what they're doing. When it comes to like more than one person on the same screen, maybe they can do co-op, but let's not be silly. So Bungie is a studio that has been passed around, and I think that's why they accepted this offer, because they didn't like being owned by Microsoft, being told what to do. They didn't like being owned by Activision, and basically said, make more Destiny sequels. And they're like, we're independent. They had no reason to sell except for the fact, hey, we need money. We don't want to have to worry about being funded. And we want to be able to do what we want to do. And Sony's like, we need people that know what the hell they're doing and can maybe give us that experience and really grow. Because apparently Sony wants to make 10 games as service games. I'm like, what are those games? Katamari Damacy? No, they don't own that. What games? Parappa the Rapper?
Mag 2.
Maybe? Mag 2?
I'll take Parappa the Rapper. Yeah, man.
So
music service game.
I don't know. I mean, Sean, you don't do a PlayStation podcast. I mean, what do you think?
Not yet.
Well, that's true. It's coming.
Don't tempt me. Don't tempt me. I think this is proof that every developer has its price. Everybody's got their price. I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on the price itself and sort of relative to other things that have sold. Is things are selling with a B now, man, billions of dollars. This is kind of the going rate, which is absolutely nuts. But yeah, I think Bungie is just a really interesting overall developer. I think probably some of the most talented developers and talent in all of the land, as our good friend used to say. And it's funny because they seem to just really champion being on their own and being independent. And yeah, that's probably the best case scenario. And then it's like the real world hit them. It's like, yeah, I want to move out of mom and dad's house and screw you guys. I'm going to do what I want. And it's like, shit, this is hard.
Can
Man,
I
I
get a
need some
loan, Mom and
cash.
Dad?
I need a place to stay, man. Like, I got to get groceries, and who's going to clean my room? And
I'm
it's like,
coming over to wash my laundry at your house, Mom and Dad.
yeah, well, this is what I did. Like, I moved out
Yeah.
4 times, man. I just get like, oh, I'm coming back. Or I'm going to move out over here. You know, I kind of have to laugh about it a little bit, but all at the same time, like they managed to do all this and still put out one of the best feeling first person shooter games ever. I mean, 2 of them really, with Halo and now with Destiny, they just got it down pat. And I think too that when games get so big, I would probably include Fortnite in this example as well. When games get so big, people stop respecting them, and it's so weird. It's so short. League of Legends is probably another example. Some of these absolutely like bigger than life, larger than life games. They're so popular, you stop breaking down like what makes them good. And Destiny is right there. So this is a huge get for Sony to have in their portfolio, and it's really interesting even just to talk about, because it's what I'm hoping from these acquisitions is that it is more than just exclusives, and we know that already, that Destiny's going to persist beyond PlayStation, which is great, and everybody feels good about that. But the reason I bring it up is because I think that I'm looking for just something more fascinating to talk about and more fascinating to dissect and understand. What is the foresight here? What is the vision? And we're getting a couple of maybe glimpses into this, in that like Destiny as an IP, as a lore, the story the stories that can be told there, the characters that exist, the battles that are happening, and again, the stakes. What is happening? And it can be told well beyond video games. And that's where like that really tickles me, more so than probably anything else here, because I think we're on a bit of a precipice here where comic book movies were maybe around Spider-Man, you know, after so much had gone wrong, and where somebody's going to figure this out right away on how to translate video game IP and lore and everything about it to dominate the earth. Like video games have, I feel like video games, and maybe somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, video games have always been bigger, better, more revenue generating than comics, and comics have become just gigantic in their IP. So what happens when somebody figures out video games and manages to make those $3 billion movies and books and TV and whatever else? Like, I just feel like it's there, but maybe not. Maybe the fact that comics were limited to literature and books, and you like, rather than letting, say, gameplay take over some of those more important factors, maybe that's the reason that comic books have proliferated in the way they have. But yeah, this Bungie thing is fascinating, and I can't wait for them to go back to independence and be bought by Sega or whoever the hell else is next. But yeah, I mean, this is really interesting to see.
Yeah, I like that point, that this is because this is Sony buying this, not specifically just PlayStation.
Yeah.
It does open it up to, well, Sony also does movies. They also do TV. They like, this is an IP purchase as much as it is, you know, teach them how to do a live service and do this, do that. Like, they're saying, okay, cool. Well, Paramount Plus is launching a Halo TV series. We've got The Last of Us. We've got Uncharted just about to drop. Like, is this the next Sony IP that we see on a screen?
Yeah,
maybe. We have Tom Holland saying he wants to do a Jack and Daxter movie.
Did he really?
Like,
yes, he did.
Yes, he did. Let him do it, man.
Yes.
Let him do it.
So we are on that thing. Like, you know, we saw some success with Sonic the Hedgehog, Detective Pikachu, and I think this is just going to grow. Like, those movies were like Blade, X-Men, and we are, I think, right there for getting the Spider-Man.
And The Witcher is excellent. We're getting a Last of Us TV series. So, you know, it's like we can go with any medium. And I do have one question, gentlemen, because you're both from Canada. How are you watching Halo? I don't know does Paramount Plus exist in Canada?
Paramount Plus is up here, I think. Isn't it?
Is it?
I don't have it.
I'm pretty sure
I actually don't know how I'm going to go about this.
I don't have Paramount Plus, but I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I looked it up, and I think you can get it in Canada.
I don't have this is weird, and this goes not just for Halo, but for really everything. Like, I don't have the same compulsion everybody else does. Like, I'm so far behind on Boba Fett and the Mandalorian and everything else. Like, I just watched Loki, so I'm pretty stoked about that.
Yeah, I won't say anything there because I watched Book of Boba Fett this morning.
Mark had to
and
watch
then
it this
finished
morning
at
before he got
lunchtime.
spoiled.
I did. I couldn't go anywhere near Twitter or Facebook or Discord or anything for like the whole morning until I finished it. $5.99 Canadian for Paramount Plus.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Oh, just straight, just
not too bad.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, just straight.
We can get all the
there.
Star
It's,
Treks.
Perfect. Yeah, that's exactly why
Is that
I'm
the
going to
only
buy
way you
this.
can get all the Star Treks?
All the Star Treks, yeah, and The Good Wife.
No.
And Nickelodeon.
I'm
all the
gonna
Nickelodeon
get it for
stuff
Halo
and Viacom and the same. There's some really good stuff on there because it's like Viacom. So MTV, South Park, all the stuff from Nickelodeon. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you're good to go.
Survivor,
Matlock,
NCIS.
maybe.
Survivor reruns. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I can see me getting this for a little bit and just like watching Halo and then being like, what else is on this thing?
Well, Todd, you kind of alluded to something there too, though, like in terms of the purchase. Like when you look at Sony and Xbox, more than just the IP, it's teams that make games, they crank these things out. They're like with Call of Duty and StarCraft, Warcraft. Like actually, I think about Blizzard a little bit more closely to Bungie, and Sony just continues to add writers, man. Like that's what I really think is of value here, because you need a world for these games and these stories to be told within. I think that's so important. You think about even like Gears of War, like, and how much I would say like Xbox kind of struggled with like, where are we taking this world after the first three? And there's been a lot of work that has gone into that, and I'm very curious to see where they go. But it's just like every time you fire up a Sony game, it's like that story is there. And the writing is there. It's 100%. And yeah, I think that's where Bungie is. They proved it with Halo. They're the ones who created that world and that lore. Destiny is right there. What they're creating next, it's like they've just added a behemoth when it comes to obviously the technical prowess and the ability to lend itself to all those things. But another just juggernaut on storytelling and creative, which that can't be understated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Destiny needs a big audience, and I think that's what all these games that are games as service, they need a big audience. So that's where I feel like we're all going. We're not just dealing with like exclusives anymore. We're dealing with like Roblox, and we're dealing with Fortnite, where it doesn't matter where you play, you can play it. And it's where do you get your audience going? And Mark's the biggest Fortnite fan I know. And the fact that he can play it anywhere makes him happy, because he doesn't have to feel like he's tied to the device. So, and I think that we were going to talk about where we're headed in the next 10 years. And I think that will be the common theme, that the box is less important than the experiences you can get wherever you can go. And I could definitely see a future where Nintendo says, I don't care where you play it, but we want to bring the specialness with the input you bring to the game, the controller. If anything else, Nintendo deals with the way you feel when you're playing. And if Nintendo said you play our games anywhere, but you've got to bring our Nintendo device, I think that would be good enough.
It's funny, and I don't know I don't know if we're diving into this right here, and Mark is a great person to ask about this. Is like, I feel like it's like Apple, in terms of wanting to be everywhere. But do you ever become like so open source? It's like, Android is what it is. They'll let everybody make. Google will make anybody make an Android phone. Only Apple makes Apple phones, and they have that lockdown from the hardware to the software. Like that's them. And I feel like Nintendo. But I don't see
Apple doesn't have content. Apple doesn't make content right now. They make a little bit of content. So Apple's the device you want to play on. But as of right now, Apple doesn't bring the content. You're there for the device. Nintendo, the IP is what makes it special. The Switch right now, you can play docked, which means then you could play that game anywhere. So it's the IP and the experience.
I would disagree.
Well, I mean, with the Steam Deck coming, you can go on the go with Steam Deck now. So essentially, you can play Xbox, PlayStation, and all the Steam library. Whereas the Switch, what can you do on the Switch docked that you can't do with any other controller?
Well, and I guess the comparison I'm trying to make is just that the apps that Apple make are part of the overall Apple experience and the ecosystem that they create. And I think that is similar to what Nintendo does with the software that they create that is only available on the hardware that they create.
Correct,
I think
but the content you're absorbing is Apple doesn't make that. So if Apple didn't offer content and they only offered a device, right? I mean,
What do you mean
essentially.
by content? If you're talking games, I'm going to agree with you. If you're talking content overall, I think we've
Well,
seen
you have an.
Apple
Well, I would
TV
say,
shows and
but the
movies.
Apple TV is they're making the least amount of content than anybody else. So now people aren't getting the Apple device to watch Apple TV shows. They're getting the device because of the experience of being an Apple. Same thing when people go to Google, things like that. But it's like Google's not making content right now either. So that's where I like Nintendo. And that's where I don't want to segue, but I always think in the future, I think if what makes Nintendo special is the way you interact with their games, the waggle, the touch screen, the whatever, the DS2 screens. If you take away the device and you say, I just want to play a Nintendo game, but I want to experience it in a cool way, the controller essentially becomes the unique part rather than the box you play it on. Because like the Switch, like I said, once you dock it, you're playing with a Pro Controller. There's nothing about that Switch box that makes it unique. And you can have 4 people play it on a TV. When you take it on the go, then you've got a Steam Deck. Steam Deck is taking it on the go with a touch screen and controls and a bigger library than anybody and their brother and can play it anybody else. So I'm thinking maybe in the future we don't have to worry about Nintendo games just being in a Nintendo box, but they bring their specialness with the way you interface their games.
Yeah, we'll see.
I mean, it'll be interesting.
I feel like Nintendo's going to be the one to figure out how to, like, the secret to the future is just like, how do you become so invaluable, like, or so valuable that you can't live without it. And this whole like notion of the metaverse, like there's going to be some sort of tool, there's going to be some sort of device that unlocks the metaverse. And in that way, I don't know that exists. I don't know if it's like a next gen version of a phone. I don't think that's the answer. Somebody's going to figure that out. And if Nintendo can somehow tap into that, then yeah, I think they do manage to just like totally blindside everybody else to get in everybody's homes and be, something that everybody wants. And they tackle it in a way that that nobody else is looking for. Everybody else is talking about strapping a VR headset to your head. And that might be the answer. That might be exactly what this whole metaverse is about. But for whatever reason, I feel like Nintendo just like understands what drives our stupid lizard brains. And that might be the secret to being in everybody's homes and being completely universal across the world.
Here's a hint. It's cardboard.
Well, exactly. Like, and they're just stupid enough to try. Like, they're crazy. I should say they're crazy enough to try.
That's it. Yeah. No, but you're right on. Like they just, for whatever reason, they think so differently that like you're right on. Like they tap into like weird little things that it's just like, oh yes, that is the button that I want to press over and over again to make the happy chemicals go off in my brain. Like that's Nintendo.
Yeah. There's a lowest common denominator thing there as well. I think that can't be, it's because it's kind of lowbrow. It's like, this isn't the smartest thing. Maybe when you look at it, it's not like the most detail and not pushing all the P's and F frames per second, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, how many people even know what any of that stuff is to even look for it? And that's where I think it's maddening when you know it and you're like, you're clearly not pushing any boundaries when it comes to that. So what is it? And it's like, it's the same thing that makes whatever, like Times New Roman, the most common font. It's like, there's nothing special about Times New Roman. The thing sucks. But like everybody can read it, so I guess it's popular. Like I don't know, it's not always a quality thing or a commentary on the prowess of it. It's just how deployable is it to everybody.
Yeah, there's nothing like holding a Nintendo controller in your hand.
Yeah,
and not the actual box you play it on. That's what I kind of thought about. Kind of like Disney. Disney does what Disney does, but Disney's everywhere and it's affordable. So, but Nintendo, I think, is going towards Apple in their approach. So maybe it's a different, and maybe those two will partner in the future and make the greatest Nintendo Apple box in the world.
There's an acquisition for Apple to go after.
I'm sure that'll go well. Very quickly, though, we got the bonus round, and that is Nintendo Direct. So very quickly, I just want to go over this because, I mean, Sean, your predictions were Donkey Kong.
No, Kato at Donkey Kong. Kato
that's right. You had a Fire Emblem in the fall. Yeah. Then I believe you had a few others. If you want to talk about any of those, you had. Mark, sure. You had a few others. I think Wave Race was a big choice in this.
I always say Wave Race.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
You should
Wave
always
Race for everything.
we should
Go
all be
back to
asking
the
for Wave
3
Race.
years that
Yeah.
we've been recording this show, and my answer is always Wave Race. So don't. I wouldn't.
Yeah,
really
let's see.
hold that
Let's see. Sean, you had if I got yours correctly, you had
I had Wind Waker at a Wind Waker port, like a
Yes.
HD remaster, bring it over to Switch. I had Splatoon getting a date for June 2022. I had Fire Emblem in the fall, and specifically that was going to be the one more thing. Then Diddy Kong Racing was going to come to Switch Online plus expansion pass, and my real go get 'em was The Sims was going to come to the Switch as a cloud version.
Perfect.
That makes so much damn sense.
It does.
The fact that it hasn't happened yet is just like, who hates making money in this equation?
Apparently Sims 4 is the most demanding game in the world.
That's why I said cloud. That's why I had to add a little
absolutely
the cloud.
Yeah, and that, like, we saw that cloud's a thing. Like, come on. So mine, funny enough, you said June. I was thinking July for Splatoon 3 to make it the same. Right. Like Splatoon 2 launched in July, so I thought there. But and frustratingly enough, we got summer as the release window in this.
So you could go to September, and you're in the wheelhouse from June to September. You're good.
We're both almost right. Of course, Wave Race always been. I mean, I'm just going to keep saying Wave Race until something comes from that franchise, whether it's Nintendo Switch Online, a new game, both.
There's a boat in Chrono Cross.
Yeah,
that's about as close as you're going to get, I think. Sorry.
I know.
Well, was there one? There's no boating in the new Switch sports game, right?
No,
not yet.
No wave jet skis in Switch Sports.
Not yet.
You know what? That was in Resort, right? Wii Sports Resort, wasn't it?
Jet skis, I believe.
I'd be happy with them leaving that out. But the big omission for me. So they said we're getting golf in the fall or something like that as a download, right? As like another addition. So I'm hoping they keep adding things because I want frisbee golf. That was so satisfying, or even just the frisbee with your dog kind of thing. But frisbee golf was so much fun because I found normal golf was not as accurate with the Wii remote. Maybe it's going to be better with the Joy-Con, but frisbee golf, you just had to kind of flick it in the right direction, and it just kind of worked, and it was fun. And I want that one to come back. And it seems like they just keep iterating on tennis right now. It's like we have tennis and we have
racket
volleyball,
sports,
we have
smart
badminton.
Did we get what's the game that old people like? Pickleball? That didn't come in.
I was looking at pickleball today.
If they said table tennis, I was going to throw something at my TV. That was. But
Mark, you did get close on 2 though. You said Mother 3 is happening, and you got Earthbound on Switch Online. Close.
Yes. Yeah. And Earthbound Beginnings.
Yes.
So that's like.
And you got a new Mario
Earthbound
game.
1 plus Earthbound 2 equals Earthbound 3. I think I was right.
I think you were right. And then you got a new Mario game.
Yeah. I didn't think it was going to be Strikers, but here we are.
So, and I'll just give you my choices were all wrong. Bayonetta did not get a release in June. There was no GoldenEye remaster or trailer. Kirby did not get new amiibo. What, Kirby? Come on. And then Metroid Prime did not get anything. So that is where we stand in our predictions. So, Mark, you were the closest.
Woohoo!
So, Mark, I'll leave it to you to talk us through the Nintendo Direct.
Okay, so we mentioned a couple of things, so I'm going to go through these pretty quickly and in no particular order because I have a list here that's just going to give me a very quick list of everything that was announced. So first off, Super Mario Strikers is back. This is awesome. Sean, I know you're a fan of the series, the Mario Sports series in general. I know that the community has a lot of fun with those. Golf comes to mind first off. But Strikers, what did you think of this one?
Move over Mario Golf, move over everything else. This is the one. I lost my mind. I remember the very first time I played Strikers on the Wii, which was, very, very close, if not the exact same game as the GameCube. This is a game with attitude, man. This is soccer with an extreme edge to it. It's got all the things you love from Mario games with the power-ups and all the characters, and everybody's unique. And it's just fun, and it's something that everybody can pick up and play. It seems like it is maintaining a lot of the heart that Strikers had. I didn't get any red flags like I did with Mario Golf. Like, it seemed like it was pretty feature complete.
Yeah.
You got your online clubs, it's got couch co-op, it's got online play. I am
8
here
people,
for it.
couch
8
co-op.
people. Yes,
Holy
please.
shit.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've been spending the last 5 years buying dozens and dozens of Joy-Cons, so yeah, let's do it. Finally give it to us, man.
Amazing.
18 people. I thought it was going to be a battle royale because they said battling. I'm like, there's going to be 100 people playing soccer. That would be hilarious.
That'll be a DLC
It's
mode
like-
in a year.
That is Pee Wee soccer right there. It's like all those kids around a ball and nothing happens.
Oh my god, amazing!
It does look crazy. I'm very excited for that one. And online, like I said, multiplayer, couch co-op for 8 people. It looks
Clubs?
And clubs. That's
Yes.
it. You can compete against other clubs. So we'll have the Yumi Capri club and the Phoenix Overdrive club and the Secret Friends club, and
Yeah,
we'll all
man.
be competing, or we'll all team up and take on every other club and go at it that way. So it's going to be pretty awesome. I can't wait for that one. That's gonna
All
be
of
a
us
day one for
retired
us.
soccer players can finally get our swerve on.
Yeah,
I
how do
was
we buy that jersey?
disappointed. I was disappointed. There's no Ted Lasso or Danny Rojas characters yet.
Soccer is
but I
life.
do,
Not yet.
Football is life.
Football is life.
That would
If
be
I
a
don't hear
that'd be a
that
good me
once-
costume for
That'd be
the
That would be good.
sports.
There we go. That's it. I'm getting started on that me as soon as we hang up this call. The next one on my list, and I think this is one of the last things they talked about, but I'm going to put it right now because it's exciting to me, is Mario Kart 9. Oh, wait, no, sorry. That's still not happening. We're getting
No.
48 new effing tracks.
What the
for
hell?
Mario Kart 8.
What is this?
It's 27
What is this?
years after that game launched. We're getting 48 new tracks. It's going to be $25 US, I think, or free if you have Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack. Just paid for it again if you got it begrudgingly, like Todd.
Boom!
And play Animal
I don't
Crossing.
play
There
Animal
you go,
Crossing. I needed
Todd.
something for this.
Todd, I thought of you as soon
I
as
know
like,
you
my
did.
wife was
So I'm like,
losing
what?
her
I can
mind.
play
I
this
was
for
like,
free?
Todd just got his money's worth. How you feeling, Todd?
I'm ecstatic.
Good. That is good. Sean, this going to make you go back to Mario Kart 8?
What else could we ask for? If not a Mario Kart 9, why not Mario Kart 8.7563 pi to
That's it.
Why so long?
48
We
new
don't know.
tracks, though.
so
Like,
great. We have a roadmap. We've got
Holy
6
shit.
waves of 6 tracks.
That's awesome.
The only thing that I would say, I want to tackle this other. The checking the box of like we're getting more tracks, like breathe new life into the number 1 best-selling game on the Switch. This is such a no-brainer. It's not even funny. But then also on top of that, 2 things. The pricing for it alone, $25, I think makes a lot of sense. They could have asked for another $40, and they
Easy.
didn't. So they maintain this reputation that Mario Kart does DLC right, and they tack on this with, if you have this expansion pass that everybody's been screaming about, you actually get this here. So I think that like it makes me happy on every front, and hopefully it makes all the people who have been bitch whining and complaining about that pass that was completely optional to purchase. I think it adds value to that. And makes me wonder what's in the future, man. Like how now they've got this Animal Crossing DLC in there. They've got the Mario Kart DLC. What else is coming? And I think that to me is much better when I think about what should I be looking forward to from this pass. It's not old games coming back and available in a sort of virtual console kind of thing. It's like, this is new and different. It allows them to keep selling their games at $70. They'll never stop doing that. But it does allow like day and date. It's like it's Nintendo's version of Game Pass day and date stuff. They were never going to do, their first party stuff day and date on the thing. But DLC, they could live with that. And I can live with it as well, man. I think it makes sense for everybody.
Definitely.
It's a win.
Just for the record, for anyone that has not done the math yet by the time you're listening to this, 48 new tracks doubles
It's the game.
the amount of
Oh, wow.
tracks. That
Okay.
is the exact amount, including the DLC from. So if you played Super Mario Kart 8
On the Wii U.
as it was,
Proper.
that was 32. They added 16, and that's where the deluxe comes in. That was originally DLC. They added it for the Switch version. So we have 48 tracks right now.
Yep.
And they are literally doubling that game. So they're basically just like, here's another, like, this is essentially, aside from a new gimmick or something, this is a new game.
Now,
it's
Mark,
wild.
do you think, because I feel like they did this with the DLC on the Wii U, that as we get a little bit closer, maybe there's certain waves that come with other characters as well? Like, I feel like we got
I'm
like
hoping so.
Isabella when the Animal Crossing track came along. So
Mhm.
yeah, that was where I was halting myself a little bit earlier. I'm like, everything's great, new tracks, this is all awesome, but I also want characters too, please, if I can.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've been streaming a bit more with my wife, and one of the games we play is Super Mario Kart 8, and that's one of the things I always say. I'm always going through and picking a character, and I'm always like, I wish this character was in
Yep.
this, or I wish that character. And there are a ton of characters, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'm right there with you.
Toon
That
Link,
I'd
please.
love to see, just a few more sprinkled in there.
Mhm.
Come on, it's
That's very
48
cool.
new tracks and 3 more characters. Like
Who is everybody wanting for Smash that didn't get in there? Who's somebody like put him in Mario Kart?
Gino.
Gino, there we go. Can you imagine Gino in Mario Kart after all this time? That'd be amazing.
Wave racer guy.
Yeah,
Yes.
Because he can ride a wave racer on the track, just put wheels on it. It's like in like the trailer you put your jet ski on. That's what he's driving.
That's what I was just gonna say. Yes,
100%. I'm on board. I will never pick another character.
Or you
Oh,
got a
that's a
truck
great idea.
pulling the guy on the jet ski. That's what it is. It's like double dash. You, the guy in the truck.
I'm on board. That's going to be the
I love
gimmick
it.
for 9. It's going to be your cart's being dragged behind
It's
an
tow
18-wheeler.
truck Mario
It's going
Kart.
to be Excite Truck plus Mario
I love
Kart.
it.
And that's going to be Mario
I know
Kart 9.
Nintendo so well.
It nailed it. 100%.
Soundbite of the night.
So the next one, we did mention it already, Wii Sports. This is Nintendo Switch Sports.
Is this a paid game? Is this online? What is this?
Seems to be a paid game, but they're adding to it as it goes. They're already giving us a bit of the roadmap. Like I said, we're getting golf. We're getting the different mode for soccer where you can play with the leg strap from Wii,
Ring Fit, yeah.
Ring Fit.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of this? Like my wife was like losing her mind.
Yeah.
I'm very excited because anything I can play with her that we can both have a good time and just understand it instantly. Wii Sports for me is always going to be the game that my grandmother beat my brother playing tennis the first time we broke it out, and it's going to be special for those kind of reasons. So do you guys have that same nostalgia for Wii Sports? Are you excited for this?
Huge
Sean?
nostalgia, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. This is Nintendo does this amazing thing. I remember when the NX was revealed, the Switch was revealed, and they just showed the games. They showed you playing in the car and carrying on the roof and everything, but they didn't say anything about the touchscreen. And I feel like if they did, people would be like, "Oh, this is just a mobile thing. It's just a tablet." But they didn't. And months went by, and people were like, "I kind of hope that it's got a touchscreen." And then it did, and we were happy. And I feel like it's kind of the same thing with this, where maybe if they launched the Switch with a Wii Sports kind of successor, be like, "Well, of course you are." Like that
Right.
doesn't really wow me, but it's been long enough that we've grown kind of hungry or thirsty for this, and now here it is. And of course, this is bringing back memories from. I'm sorry, where's my walker? 15 years ago, like 16 years ago, 2006, whatever it was.
Mhm.
Wow.
Absolutely incredible. This is, with a couple of additions, this battle bowling mode, this 8-lane at the same time, play with your friends. Yes, please. I just a total full of joy kind of moment on this Nintendo Direct for me.
Todd?
I have missed Wii bowling, all of these things so much. And it was just such a no-brainer, and they screwed it up so much on the Wii U with that sports club where the way they made you pay for it was just dumb. And it was like, I can't wait for this. I want to play 100-pin bowling again. I love this. This is, we got 1-2 Switch instead of this, and that just feels like such a miss. But I get it, Sean, what you said. It's like it was making Switch its own identity, not distract and make it feel like it's a Wii successor. So, but I think the fact that we're getting this now is fantastic. But once again, it was just a little unclear if this is going to be a fully purchasable game or if it's going to be like a service game. But I'm fine either way.
Yeah, for sure. I guess we'll see. Yeah, because they'll announce that, but it's coming pretty soon. So April 29th, we're going to find out, and there's going to be a test run for that one the end of this month. So we're going to be testing the online features of I think they said at least 3 games in that little weekend trial.
Perfect.
So we're getting this really, really soon. It's pretty great. They finished it off with Xenoblade Chronicles 3, so I'm going to throw that one in next. Are you guys big Xenoblade Chronicles fans? What do you think of this?
Oh, this is a Todd game for sure. Todd, take it
Oh
away,
yeah,
man.
yeah, definitely for me. Yeah, the game that sold 2 million copies on Switch was how they ended the game. Metroid Dread has sold more copies than this game, so I just think this is like this is the most Nintendo game that is just for a few people.
Right.
I'm buying. I'm day one. I
Of
love
course you are.
I love Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. I still need to play the second one. This is kind of like I'm basically when that test fire happens for Switch Sports is when I am done. I have until then to finish everything in my backlog, because after that it's like it's that, and then it's triangle strategy, it's all these other things. This game looks great, and it also kind of gave us a sense of everything that's happening until the time that we may really want to know what's happening in Nintendo Land. Like, what's our October game? What's our November game? This was September. I think that's why you got this game as the one more thing. Todd was just like this kind of capped off.
Yeah, it seemed weird too. They said they were only going to talk about first half games, and they we're going to push this a little bit to the envelope.
Those things in.
Which is fine.
One that's coming sooner, Fire Emblem Warriors. You guys,
that broke hearts when they showed it was totally a Muso game.
Yeah,
I'm watching Jeff Gerber like, no Muso, and I'm like, oh no.
We'll skip past that one and go. You already mentioned voice acting for this one,
which just seemed weird, which they didn't have to do, and I'm glad they did.
Yeah, kind of a neat addition. Did you guys play original Advance Wars? Sean, did you?
I tried it.
No,
like into the series. No.
Okay.
I have huge nostalgia for that series, so I'm very excited for this, but still kind of curious of like how much can they improve a Game Boy Advance game to make it justifiable, even if it's a package. So I do want to see, and I think voice acting's one more little tick of like this is worth $90 or whatever it's going to come to with tax in Canada.
Wow.
Like, it's wild, right?
Is it really a $60 US game?
I think it's a full price.
Well, it's two games, right?
Yeah, 2 games.
No,
that's the same. I'm still. You see, you're in the same.
That's not how I thought of this game, but okay.
Yeah. No Man's Sky, the next one on my list, coming to Switch. This is an impressive game to fit on.
Is that a like? It's not a streaming one. It's a real game.
No, it seems. Yeah, seems to be legit, and from the stream looked good.
Yeah, looked decent. Yeah.
I thought
looked better than MLB The Show. I think.
Switch game.
Which I will say, speaking of MLB The Show, what the hell was that narration? And they showed a puppet at the end. I'm like, what is going on? There's a puppet man at the very end. I'm like, who is that puppet? Who is that puppet? Sean, tell me who that puppet is. You've got a Toronto Blue Jays hat. Who is that puppet?
I don't know if he's. It seems might be weird. Might be stereotypical. Might be insensitive. Actually,
very odd.
Another thing we saw, speaking of weird, Kirby Forgotten Land.
Oh my god!
New trailer.
Mouthful mode. I've got that down. You become a car. You become a slot machine. You become like a traffic cone.
Yep.
I don't understand it, but I love this game.
Look, Mario became a dinosaur. Kirby can do whatever he wants.
Put your hat on anything. Put Kirby's mouth on anything.
Oh my god!
And this one's coming soon. This is March 25th. So
I'm all down.
We're gonna get to experience
all this. No new amiibo though. We don't get like a Kirby car amiibo
yet.
That's okay. Yet
I'm still holding.
3 years later, they'll bring it.
Bunch of classic games. So we got Force Unleashed, Assassin's Creed, the Ezio trilogy.
Mark, that Force Unleashed game. That is the Wii port.
Is it?
What are they doing? What are they doing?
Star Wars, man. Star Wars to sell.
The 360 version would be perfect and easy enough.
It would. How much different is the 360 version of the Wii port?
Is it HD versus SD?
It's not HD at all?
Well, they up-res the SD assets. Yeah. Why did they do that?
Assassin's Creed, I don't know if I'll.
Was that not out already?
Triple dip? No, because we have Black Flag, we have Rogue, we have 3. So the Ezio trilogy is a good get for this one. That's all right. I don't know. I have that game on all those games on everything, but I have the full Assassin's Creed, every single game they've ever released on Xbox. So I don't know if like my desire to go back on Switch, but every time like it'll go on sale and I'll pick it up just like I picked up Black Flag and just be able to like play it and just.
Mark, you just want them to put Assassin's Creed in your vein.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And the Ezio trilogy is so darn good. Like, if you're an Assassin's Creed fan, like that is where they made you an Assassin's Creed fan. So, what else do we have? Front Mission First and Second Coming, Chrono Cross.
That's
What about
that's a
Metroid? What about the Metroid modes?
Oh, I said they've got the rookie mode. I'm back in. I'm back in. Goods. Rookie mode has me in.
Yeah, and the one touch mode, you get hit once by
Yeah,
anything,
no
and you're
thanks.
dead.
You are
I'm gonna
right.
last 46 seconds, and I beat that.
Joey
game, but, like, that
Ferris
is
will be doing. He'll beat the game.
Oh, you
I
had to
won't
call
hit
it an individual because I was going to say this is Nintendo's way of identifying the serial killers out there, the absolute psychopaths.
Well,
out
Joey's
there,
a
just the
new
ones-
father, so I'm not going to go that deep. But he's,
Just insane. The boss rush mode, thank you. Apply that to every game of this ilk,
gonna be
man.
awesome.
Every game should have
Yeah.
a boss rush mode like that. That is awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Klonoa is all I got to say.
Klonoa,
Thank you.
another one coming back.
Special, man.
That I didn't mention in my
Your
classic
kids
coming
will
back.
love Klonoa, Sean. It's so
Yeah.
adorable.
Super
Okay.
cute. What else am I missing? We mentioned Triangle Strategy. So I think the
Big one.
big one.
What is
the
Lego
Earthbound.
Brawls, Mark? You're
Yeah.
like the guy that knows this stuff.
That
What
is a mobile game. So
Okay.
that's a mobile fighting game, I believe. I think up until right now that is that might be an Apple Arcade exclusive.
Okay.
I believe. And there's a Disney racing game or something that's not on this list that I'm looking at.
It's
That
by Gameloft, and it's
Speed or
free to
something.
play.
Gameloft free to play. I was on board until I saw that, and then it was like,
The Game Loft or the free to play?
both.
Yeah.
Jinx, Mark.
Yeah, I was all in, and again, I'm watching this with my wife. I'm like, we're both excited. We're both huge Disney fans. Like it's just and like Finn's starting to recognize some Disney characters, especially if they're from Encanto or Zootopia or Moana is like his favorites. But it like so seeing that, it's like, oh man, get me Maui in a race car, and I'm all in, and Finn's gonna be like glued to the TV, and then they finish it with like, it's free to play and from Gameloft, and it's, oh no, this is going to be just a mobile game on a Switch where it's like microtransaction after microtransaction, and I am not here for that. So
Do you have your credit
anything
card
that I
on your
missed?
Switch there, Mark?
That'll be useful for adding things to the no cart terrible eShop experience that is Switch. Is there anything that I'm missing, fellas, or what was like the one standout for you? Portal was there as well.
That's
Sorry, that's 1 and 2 collection. Is there anything else that I missed?
Live Alive. That was that weird, like,
Live
no,
Alive,
was
yes,
on
yeah.
SNES, came out, and it looks like this
Totally.
triangle strategy, like art style, where it was like and I'm not sure if they've remastered it, but that game was pretty impressive too for what they were going for.
Yeah, it looks really interesting for sure. Any standouts, Sean? What was the big standout for you?
Oh my gosh. Switch Sports, Mario Kart DLC, Triangle Strategy, Kirby. I thought had a really great showing. Metroid was right there. I think Splatoon didn't do so hot for me, even though I'm really still excited for that one.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I might have skipped over that, but yeah, Splatoon was like, the music was not Splatoony. Like, it was really off-putting.
I honestly
found.
thought rabbits were about to show up. I thought we were about to get like a flip.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to get a Mario
Anytime I
Rabbit
see
thing.
Splatoon stuff, I mean, this one was a big one, like Splatoon MLB. I was like, man, Bobby would be just eating this up right now. But
Yeah.
like the Splatoon thing, I could also see him being like, nah, this is hot trash in the summer. Like, show me the regular mode, like not the salmon rush.
I've struggled with Splatoon in the game mode. I wanted to like more because it was Salmon Rush, and the fact that it was never available when I wanted to play.
Yes.
And if they're doubling down on that, that's what I've always wanted with Splatoon. I want PvE content.
Yeah.
I don't care about we're gonna do that. I want to take on bosses together with friends, and it feels like that's the direction going. Like, I want more of that. So
I hope it'll be consistent at least.
I hope so too, and I hope it's not time gated. It's just like, let people play when they can play.
That's it. Yeah. Nothing worse. I mean, I understand like the Splatfest and stuff. That is like a weekend event or something, but that's like a weekend event for a mode that's always available basically. But like those kind of things where it was like, yeah, you can play between like 5:06 and 5:37 every third Wednesday. and enjoy Salmon Rush on those specific times. And we're not going to tell you which time zone that's in. So enjoy, suckers. And it was just like it felt like they were just actively trying to get
Trolling.
people to not play that. Yeah. So this, yeah, to that point, like I'm hoping that it's at least consistent, but the I don't know, something about the trailer just felt off to me.
Wasn't there
Same.
like an egg mode where you have to it felt like that's your frisbee golf mode, Mark. It's to get the egg in the trap,
Lost
right?
the eggs in
Is
the
that what it
trap.
is? Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Caviar
Yes.
mode.
Yes.
Yeah. Anything else stand out for you guys?
I think just overall, as a Nintendo fan, I was lightheaded.
Yeah.
Actually, like I just the Strikers being a surprise, the Switch Sports being a real surprise. Like I just kept getting like smacked in the face. But then they let me kind of catch my breath and let the blood get back to with Disney's Speedstorm and Star Wars. And it's okay, but honestly, like I really came away from this, and I haven't in a long time. Came away with this going like, okay, how am I going to afford this direct? Like I'm really starting to like tally these things up. And one of my favorite kind of like post direct activities is the JPEG goes around and we all grab our whatever, our iPads, or we circle around, we color it in green, yellow, red.
Yep.
It's a thing. And it's just, if you're into Nintendo, you're liking this sort of thing. If you're not, then you're looking at us weirdos going like, what the heck is wrong with these idiots? But we're having fun.
Mhm.
And I had a great day today, man.
It was a really good showing. Todd, what was I think that the hardest one to please out of the three of us for Nintendo stuff? What were your takeaways from this direct?
They just really nailed a lot of just bizarre things that were like, that's really in my wheelhouse. So Klonoa was cool. Portal for nobody in Nintendo has ever played a Portal game. That's really cool. I mean, I've always asked for more Mario sports games. We don't get Mario Sports Mix or the NBA crossover for some reason. So I'm glad we're getting that. We got a puppet. Cool. I think it was so dumb. But then the rookie mode in Metroid Dread, because I wanted to play more of Metroid Dread, but I hated the fact that I felt like, God, I've got to recognize the boss movements and things like that. And like Mark, you said, yeah, just do it for 25 times. You eventually get them. Like, that doesn't sound fun. So I'm glad they're adding difficulty modes. That's awesome. Open it up to more people to play that game, and maybe it'll sell another million. Great. Nintendo Switch Sports, awesome. And the fact that the adding more value to NSO makes me so happy, because I'm not an Animal Crossing guy, and a lot of people aren't. And the fact that they're adding this in to a game that is their most popular game on their platform is a huge deal. So I love that's an option.
For sure. Yeah. I'll echo everything you guys said and just say, it was a great show for sure.
Perfect.
Now, don't ask them for anything else. They're good until whatever is going to be in E3. Like
we're getting E3, and then it might be it for the last one was September, so we might see one after there. So we'll see what's happened. Maybe Zelda will finally show up in September. Who knows? You'll be waiting. We'll all be waiting for Zelda and maybe voice acting. Yeah, blame Todd. That is it for our show. This has been a fantastic time. Oh my goodness, we went long, but that was for good purpose, because we're having a good time. We only get a Nintendo Direct every 4 months, so this is well worth the journey. So with that, Sean, tell people where they can find you around the web.
Well, thanks guys for having me on. It's actually just, it's very cosmic that I think we were supposed to record before tonight. So it just worked out that Direct was announced. We got to chat about this. It was, a long time coming, man. People can find me on Twitter and on Twitch at Sean Capri. It's Sean like Connery, Capri like the pants. And I do a number of shows, including the Xbox Drive, the Nintendo Drive, where of course we talk about Xbox and Nintendo. And I hang out I have sweet hangs with strangers from the internet on We the Gamercast every single week. You can find everything we do at patreon.com/YumiCapri.
So good. So much fun. Sean has put up with me and my antics for years, so I appreciate that. Mark still does it, but he's my co-op husband, so we have that in common. So Mark, tell people where they can find you around the web.
You can find me pretty much everywhere at _Canardian. Haven't done any Twitch streaming in a couple of weeks. I've been pretty bad at that, but there's my son's sleep schedule has been all over the place, so sleep comes when we can. So that's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. But otherwise, you can find me Instagram, Twitch, Twitter, everywhere at the _Canardian.
Mark and Loren are a pleasure to watch on Twitch together. I would think Sean and his wife, Chelsea, should also do the same. Try to figure out what weird things you do. Like Mark apparently cannot open a banana like a normal person. So we'll go with that. Sean.
I almost got one the other day.
Just bite it from the
I
bottom.
almost did it.
It's funny. Chelsea and I are like really like we're ships in the night, man. We pass each other, say, hey, oh yeah, we're still here, and then we kind of like take turns. We're on shift. We're on shift duty, man.
Until the next Fallout game comes out, and then you'll play together, right?
I'm telling you, man. Yeah, well, that PlayStation 5 eventually, like, we're on a list of some sort, and that's for her, really. So
That's so crazy.
It's nuts since before Christmas.
Oh, wow. Well, you can check me out at Daxter. I'm tilting at the world. I'm the old man on the internet, trying to make the just companies behave and go where they need to go and take care of patrons who want the internet to be just. So with that, everybody, thank you for joining us. This was a pleasure to join us all together again. But with that, I say thank you, Sean. Thank you, Mark. And remember, folks, it's always better to game together.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow @SecretFriendsU on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.